All right, guys, welcome back to the Red and White Podcast. It's a special catch-up from last week's episode that we didn't have because I was in New Orleans trying to kill my liver. So, I kept up down there, though. We actually won a game against Pitt, and I was afraid there was something going on, and I was just reading it completely the wrong way, but that first half score, I mean, we whipped them, you know?
That was some New Orleans voodoo right there.
It had to be.
I don't know.
I went to
What
try.
happened.
The only game we're going to win in conference is when I'm out of the state, so, yeah.
We're going to start a GoFundMe to get you out of here more often.
But yeah, what was it 44-19 at the end of the first half?
Yeah, I was playing basketball, and I looked at my phone, and I was like, holy crap, this is ridiculous.
Yeah, and then it wasn't on TV there, so I was just watching or keeping up on my phone, and then it just seemed more of the same. It was the Cat and Abu show, so.
Yeah, basically. I mean, we came out super hot, and they were just couldn't miss. It's just one of those games where you just couldn't miss. And, you know, we still tried to blow it in the second half. Can't say I was not expecting it, but I was hoping it didn't happen.
Oh, no, I was sitting there. I'm like, oh, well, here it comes. Let's go eat because it's over. We're going to lose. But somehow,
I know, I think that's just part of the state fan in us, you know, trying to be... I guess have seen it so many times where, you know, no lead is safe. And especially after like the Virginia Tech game this year, when you're up 16 and then lose. Yeah, I thought we were trying to blow it. They ended up making their free throws at the end of the game, played all right. So it was a good win. It was better than I was expecting, that's for sure.
Yeah, that was 80% from the line, you know. Cat, though, 14 of 14. So
yeah, Dude had a good game.
Yeah, when doesn't he, though, really? When he's playing Carolina or Duke, I guess.
That's right.
Speaking of Duke, the Ice Bowl, which Governor McCrory begged people not to come to. I saw it still looked like it had a decent crowd on TV, though. So.
It was a good crowd. I was a bit surprised.
Yeah,
I was a bit surprised they said that. You know, I drove through the arena lots that morning, and it didn't look great, but they were out. You know, they were out there working on it and whatnot, and you know, apparently there's no problem. So good on them. You know, I'm glad people showed up.
Yeah, it was another game where we had a great first half.
That was probably the best half of basketball I've seen State play in a while. I mean,
yeah,
the bad part was, and you knew it was coming, is that we played so well. I mean, the ball movement. I think, you know, I referenced it on Twitter, and so did quite a few other people during the game. That like we've never seen that ball movement from the offense before. Why just now? You know, so between us playing perfect and then Duke, I think they were 3 of 14 in the first half. We were still only up 7 at the half. So you know Duke's going on that run. So that was tough.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like you said, that was about as good a half as we've played, and then we were still only up, you know, 7.
Yeah,
and that's not good. Duke is trash right now too.
Yeah, especially yeah. I don't even want to go into all that, but you know they're 3 or 14 from 3, and they shoot a lot of threes. That's what they do. But you know they weren't going to shoot 3 or 14 in the second half, and you got to withstand that run. And just the fact that you know it's coming. We've seen it before. It's what they do, and you got to be able to withstand it. And we didn't. We collapsed.
Yeah. I think the second half was 52-35.
Oh, that's brutal.
After you're leading in the first half, and I get that their shots started falling and ours didn't, and we were shooting lights out, which I guess is the only reason we had a lead to begin with. But I don't know. There's no excuse for 52-35 and a half against a team that you were making look bad just a few minutes earlier. I don't understand.
And that's the thing, you know. That's what most people were pointing out is we were moving the ball, and that's why we were shooting so well. We were getting open shots because they were passing the ball around. Second half turned into I don't know what, man. There was no ball movement. It was nothing, and then we just got run out of the gym.
Yeah, that game made me sad too, looking at how good Brandon Ingram is.
Yeah.
And what it could have been if we could get a player like that, you know?
Yeah, I mean, he would have helped this year. I'm not sure he would have been that big of a difference.
I don't know.
He's good, though. He's really good.
Saw a quote from Gottfried after the game. And
what did he say?
He was talking about Ben Simmons down at LSU, or the LSU Ben Simmons, whatever. And he said, you know, we've played against him, but I don't know how Brandon Ingram isn't the number 1 pick in the draft. And, damn, he sure looked like it. I mean, he needs to put on some weight, but you can't teach a jump shot, you know? You can, but not naturally. And he went, 4-6 from 3, 10 for 16 overall. I mean, just unstoppable. And some of those he had hands in his face, too.
Yeah, he did a little bit of everything, and he made it look pretty easy, which was the unfortunate part.
Yeah. I mean, we have that with Cat, too, I guess, but I don't know.
Yeah, but I guess Cat's got supporting role, and, you know, Ingram he's tough to cover because he can do everything inside, outside, and that's why, you know, everybody wanted him.
Yeah.
That's why we recruited him when he was like 4. They were recruiting him for a long time.
Yeah. And we just, I don't know. We're not going to get there unless we catch breaks. And, I mean, Smith ain't anything to laugh at. So, maybe that's the break. I don't know.
Oh, who knows? I don't even know.
Yeah.
I got nothing. It was ugly.
So, yeah. I mean, Duke came back with us. And then, God help us, that game last night. I mean, that first... It's funny. You talked about the first half against Duke being one of the best halves you've seen. That one last night was, I mean, nauseating. Possibly one of the worst. It was like watching kids try and jam a square peg into a round hole. I mean, they were lost. They had no idea what was going on. And it wasn't Duke. It was friggin' Georgia Tech. I mean, they're bad. And they come in and whip us at home. I mean, that's got to be one of the most inexcusable games in Gott's tenure.
Yeah, that was frustrating. You know, I'm sitting there watching the game. First of all, I couldn't find anybody to go to the game. That's how bad it is. You know, offering free tickets to everybody. Nobody wanted to go. But maybe I just need more friends or better friends. You know, but you're watching the game, and Georgia Tech's shooting pretty well from outside. I think they were 5 of 7 or something like that from 3. But that wasn't really why they're up 14 at the break. You know, that just... The team looked disinterested. I don't even know what it was. It was just there was the effort wasn't there, and I understand you don't have talent. We've talked about it before. You need to coach up what you do have, right? You can coach defense. You can coach effort. I didn't see it, man. There's something weird going on with this team, and I pointed out that at one point, I think it was early in the first half, Cat goes up for a layup and gets fouled hard, hits the ground, and there's a TV timeout. And Cat's laying on the ground, and the whole team goes to the bench. And the ref helps Cat up. You're like, that was weird, because it never happens, right? They're always helping each other up. And I don't know. I don't know if there's any bad blood or anything in between in the team, but that was a weird thing to happen for your best player, and then them to just kind of, you know, go the other way. And maybe it was just a timeout. It was a bad sequence. It just looked funny. I don't know. It could be,
you know, maybe guys are jealous that they're not being talked about. But, I mean, if you actually play, then people will talk about you. I mean, it's a 2-man show.
I think, you know, yeah, Abu started out hot, but I really think Godfrey's struggling to find the rotation. Right, he started Caleb, then he started Cody, and he started Maverick, and he started both the twins. And, you know, Maverick sat for a long time last night, and for good reason. He didn't really score until the end. He got a couple chucks he threw in, but I think God's struggling there.
I'm all for dogging him right now. Obviously, nobody's happy. And I know he hasn't found the rotation, but it's maybe just because none of them work. And then you got to look at the players you got on the team. I mean, we're halfway through conference pretty much. You got to have your rotation figured out.
Yeah.
But when none of it works, I don't know. And touching on one more thing, and then we'll take a break for an epic rant. But You talked about how Georgia Tech was shooting the ball pretty well in the first half.
Yeah.
Who doesn't shoot well against us?
Yeah, so that's, at some point, and I pointed out to Drew on Twitter that, at some point it becomes less about the other team and more about yourselves. If everybody's shooting well against us, hey, put your hands up. Play some defense. Yeah. Georgia Tech didn't even hit a 3 in the second half. So, for them to still be able to win without hitting an outside shot, that comes down to bad defense, not hustling. I don't know. I think it's more about us now at this point than it is about anybody else, about the other teams.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked. It's been years now where it was like, oh, well, so-and-so, they'll have their career game against us. Well, that's just not because they decide to step up because it's NC State, because we're not intimidating at all.
Right.
I mean, that's not it. It's the fact that they're allowed to have those nights. So it's not on them anymore. It's on us.
That's really been consistent under Gottfried. And, with that said, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk Mark Gottfried versus Herb Sendek. Yeah, I said Herb. Negativity and strippers.
Hey.
After this message from Cooler Salt.
If there's one thing State fans do well, it's tailgate. And I know for me, the most important part of a tailgate is a well-packed cooler. You have to ask yourself 2 questions. How clean is your cooler, and how cold are your drinks? Nobody wants to reach into a dirty cooler and grab a warm beer. Now, I've put rock salt in my coolers for years to try and chill beverages a little bit quicker, but a lot of times I'll either use too little or too much, and I'll have a can filled with slush. I'm also guilty of being a little bit lazy when it comes to cleaning the cooler after I'm finished with it. Then I found Frostbite Cooler Salt. This isn't just salt, it's salt combined with safe and organic ingredients that clean your cooler while it's getting your beer super cold. The really cool part is that it doesn't just clean your cooler, but it cleans everything that goes into it. So when you pull that beer out, it's not just going to be super cold, but the can itself is actually going to be germ-free. And it comes conveniently packaged with the perfect amount to sprinkle over 20 pounds of ice. You can find it in a growing number of stores in the Raleigh area, as well as online if you're outside the Triangle. So check out coolersalt.com, that's COOLER salt.com, to find the closest location to you and see how you can have a clean and cold cooler every time. Frostbite Cooler Salt. Colder, faster, cleaner. Alright guys, welcome back. And I thought we were done with Georgia Tech, but we're not, because I'm still pissed off. So, the more you think about it, the angrier you get. I mean, you could say we don't have talent on the court right now, and 3 guys on the end of the bench would help a lot. We might have 2 or 3 more wins. But when you break it down, injuries hurt. I mean, that took a scorer away from us first game of the year. And then leaving early hurts. Trevor Lacey, if he were here this year, who knows? A year before, if TJ Warren had stayed and we had him and Lacey, really, I mean, we could have been Elite 8 type of team, Mm-hmm. But you can't help that. Guys want to get paid. I get it. The problem that we haven't really talked about is just kids transferring. And there's got to be some reason that we can't keep guys on the team. I mean, we've had a transfer every year. Was it Purvis, and then Tyler Lewis, and then Kyle Washington at the end of last season?
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Lewis wasn't the best shooter in the world, but I would take him right now. Would you?
Yeah, absolutely. Everybody would.
Yeah.
Somebody can handle the ball other than Cat. Yeah.
Kyle Washington, he would do some derp stuff, but he could get hot and then light it up for a while too. And it's a nice big body inside who's not afraid to rebound. I mean, he would try at least. Decent jump shot when he was on. So what's causing that? I mean, he's getting elite players. Cat, he's working the transfer game, getting guys in that are really good. But is he just recruiting the wrong types for the other positions? I mean, what's happening? Why are guys leaving?
So that's where my frustration comes in with the program and with Godfrey is as a head coach, you're responsible for that talent evaluation. You're responsible for bringing in those secondary guys that should be able to develop into serviceable players when they're juniors and seniors and whatnot. And, the guys he's brought in haven't really developed like that.
The ones that have just leave.
Yeah.
And are they being promised things, promised starting roles?
I don't know if that's it.
But if not, then you've got to figure out which of these kids are going to be okay with having that secondary role. I mean, that's why they're leaving.
Yeah, that's it comes back to talent evaluation, I think.
Talent and personality both, I think.
Yeah, I think there's something in there. Maybe, I don't know what it is, but I agree with you, and I think that falls back to the head coach. So it's not just a results-based issue, but it's a fundamental problem with the program when you're not able to retain your talent. You're not going to be able to achieve greatness, right? You're not going to be able to get to the level that state fans want you to get to and you want to get to if guys are leaving or whatever, for whatever reason.
It's a problem. I mean, that's
it is a problem. And I think we talked about our last episode when you mentioned now was the time to fire Gottfried, and it was a reasonable argument. And although you might not want to hear it, but it's the truth. If you look at the numbers, sure, have gone to 4 straight tournaments. Godfrey's win percentage is .624. It's barely above Herb Sendek's, and he was on the hot seat for like 5 years.
Yeah, everybody wanted him going. Everybody was okay with it.
Godfrey's conference record, 40-37. That's not doing anything for anybody, and it's not because he hasn't had the talent. I mean, we've had Lorenzo Browns and Scott Woods and C.J. Leslie's and T.J. Orens, and he's had players. That's the frustrating part for me.
And see, I see you've got Herb's there. I guess he finished at 72 and 88.
Yeah,
so you could say. I mean, you could say Godfrey. Well, Godfrey's over 500. He won't be at the end of the season.
No, I don't think he will be.
No, there's no way we finish 3. No.
Yeah. So they're going to be very close in win percentage at this point. Do we need to wait 10 years like we did with Herb to figure out that, hey, this is, Herb, they did a good job. They got us to a better place. Maybe it's time to move on. See, I don't think that's being unreasonable.
No, it's the tournaments that cloud the judgment there, I think.
2 of those tournaments we got in, we were on the bubble. It's maybe 3 of them. We're on the bubble. So it's not like he's getting in easily, right? We're still a bubble team. We're still in the, second, third of the NCAA. I mean, in the top 70. That's not great. That's not where you want to be as a program.
No. And the more I look back on it, too, I think it was, like the Richard Howell and Lorenzo senior year, maybe. Or we started top 10. We were preseason top 10.
Yeah.
And fell apart. And then turned into, basically, I don't think we were quite a bubble team, but it was nowhere what it should have been.
Right.
And that's coach. I mean, that's a coaching thing.
Yeah.
If everyone knows you have the talent and you just don't execute, I don't know.
I like Gottfried, man. I think he's good. I think he's got the right personality. But it's not going to prevent me from looking at the numbers and looking and say, hey, there's some issues.
Yeah. I think he was the right man to get us relevant. But beyond relevance, I'm not sure.
I think that's fair. I don't think that's being negative.
No. I've tried to be as positive as I can, but I don't think it's ever going to get better than what we've had the last 4 years. It's always going to be this.
Yeah.
And I don't want to accept that. And I don't think Debbie's going to accept that in the end either. I mean, you look at what the non-revenue sports are doing.
Yeah.
Coming in to make changes. Softball ranked for the first time, and I don't know when. Wrestling third, beat the shit out of Carolina this week.
Right.
Baseball, I mean, there's so much progress everywhere else that I just can't see the moneymaker, one of the 2 moneymakers being stuck in mediocrity.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think that's a realistic way to look at it.
Yeah. And I don't want everyone to think we're being too negative. Because after the last episode, we had someone go off on us because all we talk is negativity. But what the hell do we have to be positive about?
See,
What is that?
yeah, I have something to say about that because I don't think we've been negative at all. I think we've been realists. So, first thing I'd say is bite me. And what you're calling negative, I'm talking about being realistic.
It's exactly what it is.
I understand the nature of fandom. Everybody wants their team to be great. Everybody wants to be positive, but that's not reality. We're allowed to talk. We're allowed to have observations. We're allowed to talk about our teams, good and bad. We're not saying the sky's falling. I'm just saying there's issues. It doesn't make us any less of a fan than anybody else. There's all kinds of fans. The Pack Pride message board guys, they spend their hours digging up UNC crap. The state fans, nations guys, they're cynical, right? They've seen it. They've seen it all before. The back in the pack guys, they hide their frustration behind snarky comments. I mean, and there's us. We call it like we see it. I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. I'm sorry if that doesn't work for you, but get over it. You'll get there eventually if you watch enough of these games. You watch enough NC State sports. It's the unavoidable progression.
Yeah.
Everybody goes through it. I mean, I honestly believe that.
You guys don't want us to talk about puppies and rainbows when we're getting our ass kicked every time we walk on the court.
No,
If you do, then listen to something else. I'm sorry. I can't psych myself up for that. Like, it's not going to happen.
Yeah, I'm not going to do it either. I'm not going to sugarcoat. I'm not going to dance around it. If I think something sucks, I'm going to tell you it sucks.
Yep.
Right? That's how it is. I'm not going to say, well, maybe if the ball bounced this way, then blah blah blah. That's not what you're going to hear when you listen to us, right? I'm going to tell you what I think, and I think there's a progression of being a state fan. I think you're, a student where everything's great. You're all Wolfpack all the time. You're drunk on red. We're going to win everything, right? You're still positive. Next stage. Oh, next year's our year. It didn't go our way. Did you see that recruit we got? That's awesome. At some
that
point,
one never goes away though. It gets worse, but that one's always, well, y'all some bitches, just wait till next year.
Yeah, right. So that's what it has. And then you get your backs against the wall. It's like, damn, it didn't go our way. Well, how the hell does that happen to us? You're the remote control throwing stage, where you're just so frustrated you can't believe we lost that game, right? That's one of the stages. The world is against us. It's a damn conspiracy. I was there for a long time. Swafford and UNC are behind it all, right? They're holding us back from greatness. How does our towel boy get a technical? How does Chris Corciani get tossed out of the game in our own building, from the stands? There's everything. And then you have us, realists. I have other things going on in my life. I don't get as frustrated with NC State sports as I used to. I mean, I still get frustrated. I still want us to win. Doesn't make me any less of a fan. And then you have the snarky, the negative, the cynical guys. Yeah, I'll put them all together because I'm getting lazy. But, they've been around long enough. They've paid enough attention. They've seen it all. They've seen all the bullshit over the years. You just come to expect it. You're more surprised when it doesn't happen. Now I'm in the realist stage. I don't throw remotes. I don't let a loss ruin my day. But I'm also able to look at our football program and realize we haven't won an ACC championship since 1979. And it takes some time to turn that sinking ship around.
But Doran's supposed to win it in 3.
Right. It doesn't make any sense. That's a stupid mentality. And if, I'm allowed to say that, I'm frustrated with Matt Canada's offensive play calling, right? You're allowed to do that as a fan. I think that's okay. It's not being negative. I'm pointing out that that's, it's not where we think it should be. Just because I'm criticizing it doesn't mean I'm still not going to pull for them. I'm going to show up to the games. I always do. And if you watched the UVA game in 2012, you knew it was a sinking ship.
I took my mom to that game.
I mean, that was brutal, right? if we were unable to look at it and say, hey, there's an issue here. Tom O'Brien could still be our coach. We'd still be winning 6-7 games a year, right? There's problems, right? You're allowed to look at them, and that's thankfully Debbie's in charge, and people in charge are able to do that as well and see, hey, things need to be fixed, right?
See, so I went to bed thinking about that basketball game last night. I made the comparison in my head. Was that game last night Gottfried's UVA to TOB.
Absolutely, and that's why I brought it up, because I think
it was
it's
bad.
You can see that, like, the in that UVA game, I just remember feeling deflated. Right, the entire stadium was just deflated. It was 6-33 against a bad UVA team on homecoming, and we didn't look like we wanted to play. That was tough.
Yeah,
that was tough to swallow. And last night was the same way. Georgia Tech's not any good, and the guys came out and didn't. It just wasn't there, and I think everybody around you could feel it as well. You know, the argument for why everybody should be positive and kind of ignore what's happening is what they always say. They always say, "Oh, the recruits read these tweets. The recruits read the message board. You know, their parents are paying attention." It drives me up the wall. It's stupid. Sure, they do, but if they're real, if they understand reality, every fan base has these. NC State fans aren't the exception. We're not special. I'm sorry. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings.
Carolina fans have wanted to fire Roy for years now.
Right. All fan bases have their lunatic fringe. The word fan is short for fanatic. I mean, recruits know what they're getting into. I mean, at least we have fans who care enough to be active online and show up to games. I'm almost positive they'd much rather see an active fan base with passionate fans than the alternative, which is, Chapel Hill or anywhere on the West Coast or, the Northeast, where they just don't care about college sports unless their team's winning, right? And like you said, the UNC fans wanted to fire Roy for years. The guy has won national titles. You think we're the asshole fan base? We're just maybe the more vocal fan base, sure. I mean, of course I want us to win, but I'm not going to give you that everything is rosy and red. And I think if you're a grown man and you think somebody's position protects them from being analyzed or criticized, then, I've got some news for you. That stripper doesn't love you. She's paid to be nice to you.
And I got some nice ocean real estate in Colorado for you, too.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get off my soapbox here, but it's so frustrating. People say, "Oh, you're so negative," or you guys are being negative. And it's. I'm going to be honest. It's only a few people that pointed it out, and it's just the people who listen to us, for the most part, they listen to us because they want our opinions, right? They want us to tell them what we think. We're not going to just sugarcoat it. We're not going to say. I think one of the guys mentioned, "Hey, you should be talking about." These recruits that are visiting and whatnot. It's like I don't pay attention that closely to it. I have other things to do in my life than pay attention to what a high school kid's doing.
Yeah.
Let me know when he's going to commit, then we'll talk about it. And we did get 2 big commits. And I should talk about Thad Moss. I'm going to change the subject for a second. I couldn't believe how much exposure us recruiting or getting commitment from Randy Moss's kid got the program.
Yeah, that was wild.
I could never have predicted that every sports outlet was going to cover it and say NC State signs Randy Moss's kid. That was amazing. I think that's awesome for the program.
Whoa! That sounds like positivity.
No way! Get out of here! Right?
I don't. I'm uncomfortable now.
Right.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, it is huge, and it's a great look. He's out on Twitter recruiting himself now.
Yeah.
So that's huge. There are good things. They're just may not be super obvious, and we're not gonna comb through the annals of the internet to find them. Yeah,
right.
Annals.
I'm not gonna avoid.
No,
I'm not gonna avoid it just because somebody thinks it's negative. It's being realistic. Our red zone offense sucked last year. Hey, you know what? Dorn saw that too. That's why they fired Matt Canada. Right? It's being realistic. If Coach Dorn, if he was always having to be positive and not being realistic, he wouldn't have fired him. Now, people are going to point out, hey, what about Huxville? But let's say that for another time. So, I don't know. I'm over people saying, there's negativity and whatnot. It's not. It's being realistic. We're talking about the facts here. We're pointing out observations. And that's what we do, right? If we didn't, you wouldn't listen to us. Nobody wants to hear anybody blowing smoke up your ass. Even the other podcasts I've listened to lately, like Pat Pride, I think after the Duke game, James Henderson you could hear he was frustrated. I mean, and he flat out said, or maybe it was a Carolina game, he was definitely frustrated. Right? It happens. Even those guys are supposed to be impartial for the most part.
We wouldn't be doing this at all if we didn't have an interest in it.
Right. So, I care, but I'm not going to be I'm not going to be blinded by the obvious. That's just not how.
Yeah.
That's not how you should go through life. I really don't think so.
No, if it sucks, it sucks. That's just it.
Yeah, right.
I mean, big
it doesn't
deal.
all suck, but there's a lot of positive.
Yeah.
I think overall the programs are going in a better direction than they had been. It just takes a little longer, but I'm going to point out some things that I don't think are right. Anyway, come back next week. We try to avoid talking basketball. Maybe we'll go in depth on the football schedule. It was just released. And here's a little preview. Ooh, that's going to be tough. That's too negative for you then. At least we get to watch some quality teams next year.
Hey, yeah, that Notre Dame game. Woo. I mean, that's it. Is that finding the positives? Well, at least we get our money's worth for tickets. I don't know.
Hell yeah. Yeah, that's right.
So
anyway, you got anything else?
I don't.
I'll get
I'm
my soapbox here.
Yeah, it's awful. On another note, my last statement, and then I'm just going to say go Pack, and I'm done talking. Archie beat St. Louis 73-37 last night.
Ooh.
Go Pack.